We begin with breaking news. Sacramento police officer Tara O'Sullivan was shot and killed in the line of duty last night after responding to a suspect who was barricaded in a home in North Sacramento. This morning, we're learning that that suspect has turned himself in. That happened just after 2 a.m. CBS 13's Dan Mitchinson is live in Sacramento with more. Dan, just a tragic night for law enforcement. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it is, Dina. You know, there is no such thing as just a typical day when an officer walks out the door, and that was certainly the case for this officer. It took about 8 hours, though, for the gunman to surrender. Now, the officer responded to a call of domestic dispute late yesterday afternoon. When she arrived here in North Sacramento, gunshots began. The woman that Officer O'Sullivan was helping was not injured, but the officer was struck by a bullet, taken to the hospital where she later died.
I'm sad to share with you tonight that we lost one of our own. Officer Tara Christina O'Sullivan died at the hospital. Officer Tara O'Sullivan was shot and killed. She gave her young life while protecting our community.
Yeah, the officer had just graduated from the academy about 6 months ago. We don't know the relationship between the alleged shooter and the woman that Officer O'Sullivan was helping. Back here in North Sacramento, crime scene tape is all around the area where this happened. People were not allowed back into their home. And what was frustrating for the colleagues of Officer O'Sullivan was that they just couldn't reach her fast enough because they were being targeted. We're told by neighbors that every time those officers went in to try and reach her, that they were facing gunshots of their own, bullets, as the gunman was apparently targeting them as well. So it took about 45 minutes to an hour for them to actually reach her. Then she was transported to the hospital. She underwent an operation, but she died at UC Medical Center. So that is the latest this morning from here in North Sacramento. We'll have updates for you throughout the day right here and, of course, online as well. Dina?
And Dan Mitchinson, while we have you, just seeing the scene behind you this morning, I know Sacramento police telling us that this will be an active scene. Can you just describe what you're seeing out there this morning now that the daylight has come up?
Well, we're seeing about a half a dozen police cars or so. They're not letting the media any closer here. They're not letting the neighbors into the area here of Traction and Grove right now. We're told if a typical scene like this, if a shooting was to happen and somebody was to die, a civilian was to die, it would take several hours, maybe a little bit longer for homicide detectives to wrap up their investigation. But because this is a police officer, a sergeant told me it'll probably take at least twice as long for them to continue their investigation this morning. We don't know when the crime scene tape will be removed, and we don't know how long it'll be before some of these people will be allowed back into their homes. So that is the latest from North Sacramento, Dina.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to do a thorough job there. All right, Dan Mitchinson reporting live for us. Thank you. And we are continuing to learn more about fallen officer Tara O'Sullivan. She was hired by the Sacramento Police Department in January of 2018, and she joined the academy in July of last year. She then graduated from the academy in December of 2018. Police say O'Sullivan was still training and was with her training officers when the gunfire started. O'Sullivan studied child development and was in the first class in the Law Enforcement Candidate Scholars Program. Mayor Darrell Steinberg also shared his condolences last night.
As a father of a 25-year-old daughter, I grieve with you. As mayor of the city Tara was sworn to protect, we are heartbroken, and we are here for all of you every step of the way.
And as mentioned, Officer O'Sullivan was in a phase of training. She was just a couple of weeks away from patrolling on her own. And officers did gather last night at UC Davis Medical Center awaiting for what turned out to be that tragic news. A white hearse was seen carrying that Sacramento officer leaving UC Davis Medical Center around 12:30 this morning, followed by hundreds of law enforcement personnel and first responders. So many, in fact, it took more than 10 minutes for all of those vehicles to leave. Sullivan was rushed to the hospital around 7 last night in a damaged patrol car after being hit in the line of duty, again after responding to that domestic disturbance call. And as Dan mentioned, it reportedly took about an hour to get to her safely. Authorities are still calling that scene this morning active and potentially dangerous.
To the citizens of Sacramento, we are forever grateful. Officer Tara O'Sullivan is end of watch, June 19th, 2019. Your watch is ended. We'll take it from here. You will never be forgotten.
Every time you hear that, gives you the chills. That was the end of watch call sent out by Sacramento police just before 4 o'clock this morning, something that is tradition when they lose one of their own. Again, though, this was the first line of duty death for the Sacramento Police Department in 20 years. We'll have continuing coverage of this deadly officer-involved shooting when we're not on the air. You can always read the latest on our website, cbs13.com.